and welcome to UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. We are a group of spiritual freethinkers who gather to celebrate life, build community, and better the world. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I'm Jill Poremba, your worship associate for this morning, and you may have noticed that our minister, Eileen Casey Campbell, was unable to join us this morning because of an illness. I'll have a few extra parts to read this morning, but luckily, because of the pulpit swap, we'll be able to share a video of her sermon as she shared it with First Unitarian. Thank you to everyone on this morning's worship team, also including music by Bill Mells, and Children's Church for Children 3 and Over by Laura Wink and Kaya Mells. If this is your first visit, welcome. We invite you to sign the visitor's book in the entryway. And whether it's your first visit or your 1000th, we are glad that you came. The service is also being live streamed to our YouTube channel. We will plan on continuing with hybrid worship services throughout the church year so that you can join us each week here in person, on Zoom, or later on YouTube. I have a few announcements, more than usual, to share with you today. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, please fill out the card on your chair. We invite you to bring them forward and place them into the basket after Bill rings the chimes and begins to play. You can also come forward to drop a pebble in the water at that time if you have a joy or sorrow that you prefer not to share. The workshop on creative worship scheduled for today will be postponed until after worship on Sunday, June 2nd. That means you still have a chance to sign up with the link in the newsletter if you haven't already. Friday, May 24th will be dinner church, led by Brandon Steele and Abby Hellauer Geiger, and will include a maypole celebration and a dance. On the fourth Friday of each month, we plan to gather at 5:30 p.m. and enjoy dinner and worship at 6. You are also invited to stay after the service for games and community time. Join us for dinner and a workshop on Monday, June 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. Dr. Carrie Graff will review the 6 lifestyle habits that are most important to your overall health and the health of the planet. You will create a personal plan for improving your lifestyle habits. This program is partially funded by the New York State Convention of Universalists. The suggested donation is $20 per person. You can register with the link in the newsletter. Please also share with your friends. We will be assembling comfort bags and writing notes this season as part of our service project for Planned Parenthood. Please donate items from the list as you are able. A basket bin will be in the front hallway to place donations, and gift cards may also be donated. Our church will be participating in the Finger Lakes Pride Festival in Geneva. On June 15th from 1 to 9 p.m., we will be tabling with First Unitarian. Can you help? We need volunteers to share shifts at the table and hand out information. To volunteer, contact Michelle Chapla. Are there any other additional announcements?
Just a real quick one. If you order things online, sometimes it doesn't always go exactly like you expect it to. We actually have 4 of these open ear earbuds. They're nice. You can connect them to anything you want to connect them to. They don't cover your ear, so it's nice and good quality. They're about $40 each. We ended up with 4 of them. They wouldn't take them back. They gave us a percentage of what we paid back, but there are 4 of them. If anybody would like one for a donation to the church, 4 of them, get them while they're hot. They're in the back.
I just wanted to announce that our annual meeting is coming up June 9th. We finally got a date set. So in 3-ish weeks, we'll vote on our new board as well as the annual budget for this coming year. So Usually there'll be a shortened church service, and then we'll have our annual meeting afterward, and you'll get to hear from me a little bit more then. So for those leaders in our committees, if you would like to have a report sent out through the chalice, feel free to send that to me, and I can try and compile it all together and get it to Scarlett. Or at the annual meeting, if you'd like to give a brief report about how your committee has been going, you're welcome to do that too. Thank you.
It's a festival of announcements today. Speaking of the annual meeting on June 9th, it will also be flower communion that day. And so I'm sort of gauging some interest if anyone would like to sing in our temporary choir. We usually have one in December, but we're going to see if people are interested in singing a song or two on that day of the flower communion, which is the 9th of June. And we'll rehearse as we usually do at 9:15, probably next Sunday, and then the following 2 Sundays, and work on 2 different songs to sing. And in preparation for that today, the first hymn is extra singing because it's going to be a 2-part hymn. So I'll teach those 2 parts to us all today, and we'll get our Sunday the 19th choir going here in the sanctuary.
Thank you. As we prepare to be fully together, I remind you to silence your phones and devices. We now enter a space of worship. Now is the time to bring forward any joys and sorrows. I invite you to join with me in our chalice lighting words as the flame is lit. We gather this hour as people of faith. In a story that you've probably heard before, and it's one of Eileen's favorites, there was a small, gentle, relatively powerless creature called a hobbit, who turned out to be the only person who could save the world. It required enormous sacrifice of him. It felt like the end of the world, and he was scared. He turned to his friend and mentor and said, "I wish this need not have happened in my time." His friend was old and wise, and he replied, "So do I. And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." And friends, I'm certain that is why we come to church. When we despair for the world, we come to this place to help one another remember that we do not get to choose the times we're living in. We only get to choose how to respond. Will you rise in body or in spirit to sing our opening hymn together, number 368?
sing. The first part goes like this. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Oh, let us sing to the power of the faith within. That's the first part, and then it gets to start. The second part comes in after that. And so when the first part goes, now let us sing, then the second part begins with, sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid, be not afraid. Oh, let us sing to the power of the faith within. And we all sing that last line together. Sing to the power of the faith within. So when you put it all together, it sounds like this. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, lift up your voice. Be not afraid, be not afraid. Oh, let us sing to the power of the faith within. And the next verse is, sing to the hope. Oh, let us sing, sing to the power of the hope within. Oh, let us sing, sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Oh, let us sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the love within. Here we go. Oh, let us sing to the power of the love within. Oh, let us sing to the power of the love within. Don't be bold, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the joy is the theme of the season. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Don't be bold, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the joy within.
That's fantastic. Now is the time in our service to join together in spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of, oh, did I miss something?
We have a story, I think.
We do have a story. Excellent. Jonathan?
I was just double checking because I was like, I don't really remember when that.
But we also didn't like the jail sketch.
We
We
did.
did.
We did.
It's
I was like,
little ember there, yeah.
sorry.
All right. Let's do some story time. The sound will be on shortly, and it will be on the screen.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face, and sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come out and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless, except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, and puts it on the fire and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And you're big, so small. You can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I'm doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do. We should always feel like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
Now is the time in our service to join together in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of both time and money support our church in its work. Each week, we like to spotlight a group or committee and thank them for their gift of time. This week, I would like to remind you about our hospitality activities after service. Feel free to bring a treat or something to share as we gather with friends after service every week. 1/4 of our plate collection for the blooming season goes to Planned Parenthood of Central and Western New York. Planned Parenthood health centers provide a wide range of services, namely preventative care, including birth control, testing, and treatment for sexually transmitted infections, and screening for cervical and other cancers. At Planned Parenthood, their mission is to ensure all people have access to care and resources they need to make informed decisions about their bodies, their lives, and their futures. You can give to this morning's offering by placing cash or a check in the basket, or by one of the options on your screen. Please make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. We now gratefully accept the offering.
One of the things that Eileen said was interesting about the pulpit swap is you might see something at another church, or she might see something at another church when she's there swapping pulpits, and say, oh, we could try that. So I almost forgot, but I remembered she was thinking when we collected the offering, maybe we could sing a song. And so here's one. I'm going to sing it twice, and you may recognize it and sing along as you wish. If it's in the hymnal, it's number 399. It's called The Vine and Fig Tree. And I believe Eileen will be referencing it during her sermon. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn your swords, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more.
I have one joy to share with you. Matt and Carrie's daughter received her bachelor's degree last weekend. And I will now drop a stone for these and all the joys and sorrows left in the silence of our hearts. Whatever is in your heart today, we are with you. At this time, if there are any children who would like children's church or nursery care, please go downstairs with Kaya and Laura. I now invite you into a time of shared silence and meditation. Take a moment to settle more comfortably in your chair and feel the support from the floor beneath your feet. Take a deep breath. Let your mind go where it will. Reverend Eileen asked me to share these words from Mary Oliver today. Don't hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb.
Last month, we met as a group of ministers and lay folks from all 3 local churches to talk through this annual pulpit swap-a-thon, which is definitely the name that's going to stick, and also have a lengthy debate about whether it should be unabashed or unabashed. And you all are in the unabashed congregation, so if you want to say unabashed, Joy, you're going to need to go downtown. Sorry, Canandaigua stayed neutral, so you can take that up with your own ministers. I'm sure they'll love that. Mostly, we wanted to make sure, as we talked about this sort of pulpit round robin, that we wouldn't have all of you sitting through 3 versions of the same sermon. And so Reverend Sherry said, well, Eileen, I assume you're going to be taking the apocalyptic view of things, right? Like a joy in the end times kind of thing. And they really do know me pretty well. They were not wrong. My own partner has asked me more than once, how many times do you think you can preach about the end of the world before you're that guy on the street corner with a cardboard sign? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to find out together, aren't we? I even like to play this game at dinner parties and potlucks in our little community that we call Apocalypse Resume, where everyone lists what skills they would bring to the apocalypse, what's on their apocalypse resume. So, as an example, who's got a good apocalypse skill? What are you bringing? I see someone pointing at someone else. There's a good apocalypse skill in the back, Nicole. You what? You can grow food. Very essential. Yes, we need you. Who else has a good apocalypse skill? Yeah. I missed that, but I'm guessing by your parents' response, it's not appropriate. Is that right? Are you going to liberate things from the pharmacies for us? That's fine, we need you. Oh, buddy. We need you, but we might not need that. You could think about liberating stuff from the pharmacies, you know? Anyway, I think it's not wild to be thinking about, right? In just my lifetime, we've passed climate tipping point after climate tipping point, speeding away toward environmental collapse. We saw a society let us die and become disabled by a devastating global pandemic. We're in our, I think, 2nd Great Recession in 2 decades. We are watching a genocide happen in real time. And alongside all of that, the insidious strength of the fascist movement in this country and others is growing, causing folks even in our own churches to double down on white supremacy and extractive settler colonialism. We are watching the edifice of our empire crumble around our feet. I think it's safe to call these apocalyptic times. Pointing out the apocalypse, speaking truth to power, noticing the emperor's glaring lack of clothes, that has to be part of why we come to church, right? We have been given every reason to despair. And holding that cardboard sign, that's not our only job. That is far from all that we are called to be. In this season, I've been thinking a lot about all of the young adults who I know and love, and the ones I don't, who are shouting about the apocalypse, holding their cardboard signs, and not just on the street corners alone, but on their college campuses and tents while they withstand the force of state-sanctioned violence. In the Starbuckses they're unionizing, on the TikTok, and in our churches. They are fierce and radical and passionate like no generation before them has ever been, and like so many generations before them have been. But there is a common theme these days when I talk with young adults one-on-one of stuckness when it comes to thinking about the future. They are diligent in their organizing, and they are despairing in their hearts. We made them spend their youth hiding under desks, sitting quietly in closets, under the threat of gun violence rather than protecting them, and they know better than anyone their age should know how precious and how fragile life is. The young folk that I talk with, they're reluctant to plan their lives, to hope and dream, when the condition of the very earth their future inhabits is so tenuous. As youth climate activist Greta Thunberg put it when she started her school strike in 2018, why should I be studying for a future that may not exist? And she's right. They're right. But we don't come to church to feed our despair. There is more that we are called to. Come on a side quest with me for a minute. Speaking of apocalyptic stories, it was Passover a few weeks ago, and I've been retelling my children the story of Exodus, the Passover story. And like totally normal children, don't worry about my parenting, they love to hear about the plagues. It is their favorite part. Like they want detailed, gory descriptions of all of them. But this year, when we got to the last plague, the death of the firstborn, where God slays the firstborn child of every Egyptian family, right down to their livestock, my oldest kid said, I don't think I'd want to go out and worship a God who killed all those babies. I'm like, ooh, yeah, dude, I get that. So we had to talk about how the Jewish Bible was written. Almost all of the collection of books that we call the Bible were apocalyptic literature. And I wrote in my notes here, in case you want to know how chaotic this process is, tell the people how the Bible was written. Like, let's just cram a few semesters of biblical history into the sermon. Yeah, I promise it's going somewhere, though. Every letter of the Jewish Bible that we have, as it exists today, was written during or after the capture and enslavement of ancient Hebrews by the Empire of Babylon in the 700s BCE, by those enslaved people. And I explained it to my kids as a way to understand that these stories aren't meant to report historical facts. They never were. They are meant, like all stories, to hold what their writers and their readers are feeling. And so much of what they were feeling during their enslavement was despair, powerlessness. A powerlessness running so deep that it makes you want to imagine a deity so powerful that they could do terrible things to your enslavers. These authors put down feelings of powerless despair, of rage, of grief, longing, and weaving through all of it, praise, joy. By the waters of Babylon, they wrote in Psalm 137, we sat down and wept. How can we sing songs of praise in this strange land? Just as we are doing now, they asked, when the world appears to be over, where does our joy come from? How can we sing praises in the midst of all this? And we find today that the weeping that they laid down on paper became itself a new song. The verses they wrote to hold their anguish then, we sing out on Sunday mornings. We have literally 2 hymns in our hymnal that make music out of those particular words from Psalm 137. They both leave out the last line, which I'm going to leave you to Google on your own. It's a little much in the raginess. And we have so many others. In hymn 392, we sing a psalm, how good it is and how joyful for people to dwell together in peace. In 370, we sing another, we believe that life is good, love doth abide forevermore. In hymn 1038, we sing, the Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need. She fills my heart with songs. We could go on with this all morning. We will not, I promise you. And not just with the happy, cheerful praises, but also with a deep longing for the world as it ought to be. Like in hymn 399, pulled right out of the mouths of the Jewish prophets, and every one beneath a vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. It matters that this people shaped songs out of their sorrow. It matters that we still sing them. Because one of our less adequate coping strategies, I think, for times that feel apocalyptic is to cultivate numbness. We feel sometimes like attention to the world's sorrow is required of us, right? And so we scroll mindlessly through bad news after bad news. We can't look away, but also we can't give in to the fullness of the feeling of what we're looking at. We get stuck in an empty loop, a sleepwalk through humanity's heartache. And also, I don't think the antidote to that freeze reaction is a never-ending fight reaction either. What I'm not saying is rather than freezing in the face of pain, we should do the perfect work of world repair, be saviors of this earth. Both of these, the numbness and the saviorism, are prayers to the idol of capitalist white supremacy. It is a false choice. Our choices are not between frozen hearts in a loop of endless information and broken hearts that tire and labor endlessly to save the world. We are called to be more than either of those, are we not? I don't think you invited me here this morning to preach the gospel of meaningless more. And I can believe with all my heart and soul that love can save this world while knowing that I alone cannot. The numbness strategy doesn't work because our joy lives in the same place our sorrow does. In that place inside of us made out of the love that saves, the love that leaves no one out, all the biggest feelings of our hearts reside together. So closing ourselves off to pain does not protect our joy. Letting ourselves be open to the grief and heartache of a world in pain also leaves us open to joy that we share together. Our joy is not safer without sorrow allowed in. It is inextricably woven with our sorrow and with the sorrows of the world. We get to share in the joy of this world in as much as we share in its vulnerability. In as much as we are not frozen, but open to the vulnerability of love in a hurting world. We can choose to let that vulnerability be a place of connection rather than disconnection. Knowing that a willing disconnection from pain disconnects us from joy as well. We get good at whatever we practice. And I'm afraid that if we practice the self-protection of dissociation, disconnection, desensitization, that it will become all we are good at. And yes, there is work to be done. There is water left to quench this fire. But our joy is neither a reward earned by our hard work. We do not need to postpone joy until the work is finished. We can sing while we haul water. I did not call these impulses to numbness or grim diligence idols of capitalist white supremacy blithely. It is the system of consumption and extraction that convinces us that walls of disconnection, even those we build in our hearts, can ever protect us. This is the system that sells the lie of our separateness, the absurdity that we might guard our individual joy while the world burns. And this is the system that tells us joy is some trivial reward for productivity. Give your body to the work, and then you may have earned a little joy when it's finished, right? It is a vicious deceit. Friends, the joy is the work. And my fellow white people, we don't have to keep everything we've inherited. Let's not, let a Puritan work ethic infect our striving for justice. That is the brand of colonizer capitalism that caused this mess. The system that told us that joy should wait until the work is finished is also telling us that justice should wait, peace should wait, liberation should wait until some imaginary day when that system of never enough is finally sated. The joy is the work. Our shared sorrow and joy is exactly what exposes that lie for what it is. And yes, we do deserve it. We do not have to earn it, and we do not have to wait for it. Yes, we can spend our short lives on delight, even knowing from the start that they will end, all the more because we know that this is brief and it will end. Yes, we can be joyful at what feels like the end of the world, all the more because we know that this is brief and it will end. In a system that would commodify joy if it could, our joy is the work. Joy in the face of genocide and injustice and brutality and a world on fire is a radical resistance to a system that would see us driven to the disconnection of despair instead. Joy in one another, in the web of life, is the work of resisting that system. Just in the past week, I have watched footage of teenagers put on puppet shows to make small children laugh amidst the rubble in Gaza City, and professors at Columbia singing while they held hands in an enormous circle of protection around their students. And I'm starting to think of all the best apocalypse skills I've heard from my loved ones' resumes. It's great that we can fix a bike or filter water, find food in the woods, or organize a protest. The most important skill was hidden there in plain sight the whole time. It was the coming together to love one another. It is what we are practicing here, telling stories that matter, singing songs together, sitting shoulder to shoulder and really feeling the depth of the sorrow that haunts us in the corners of our understanding. Offering what we can, because even if all we can offer is our weeping, we know that our sorrow might become a song we do not yet understand. And if we're open to it, then maybe we can also welcome in an unexpected joy for a love so immense it breaks our hearts, for a world that is worth a broken heart. That is what we are called to. That is why we come to church. We come here with death at our heels to learn resurrection, knowing that this is short and it will end, to sing the joy of resurrection in a love that will last long after we are gone. May it be so. Would you rise in your bodies and your souls?
All this
Thank you all for joining us today. Let's go out and be joy today. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in our closing hymn, number 108 in the gray hymnal. My life flows on in endless song. Please join me in our words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
We warm the community, for the fire